Hey there, Larry Richardson here with today's episode, August the 31st, 2019, of Common Sense News. This is going to be segment 3 of our series on the Constitution and the inclusion or the meaning of the words person, persons, people, citizenship, etc., as they're found in the Constitution of the United States. And if you want to know what we've covered so far, go back and watch at, segment 1 and segment 2 of this series. We're going to zero in on what the Constitution has to say about the, let's call it, election process, voting, etc., etc. Now, we covered a little bit in segment 2. This time, before we get into any specifics about the Constitution's specific instructions on voting qualifications and everything, let's look at a little bit about the overall picture of voting and elections in the United States. Now, first of all, the Constitution is very clear. There's nothing in the Constitution that talks about or mentions a federal election. There are no federal voting standards or federal levels of what people have to have in order to be able to vote, because the elections are held in state elections. Each state gets to write its own rules with certain constitutional parameters that we'll see about in the next segment or two. But each state sets its own elections and conducts its own elections. Now, there are some federal positions that are voted for in the state elections. Now, originally, it was only the House of Representatives that were the federal position that was voted for at the state level in each of the states. The 17th Amendment amended the way senators were sent to Washington to serve in the Senate, and they are now elected at the state level in popular elections. I don't think that's a good idea, but who am I? Okay? So you have your state elections for those two federal offices. Now, what's this bit about a presidential election? First of all, remember, there is no federal election. And second of all, the president and the vice president are put into office through the electoral college process in the way that it has been amended and twisted around and changed a little bit from the amendments, and they're put in through the electoral college process. So what are the elections at the state level as in regards to the president and the vice president? They are nothing more than glorified popularity contests. You have two levels of these contests. One is at the primary level. The primary level is where political parties within a state put candidates up on a ballot, and the people go to their primary election and they vote in a particular party's election to determine who the candidates for that party are going to be on their state ballot later in the fall for that party on the state ballot. Now, all of these at the primary level are actually elections in the aspect that who the people vote for and who gets the most votes in that primary election and maybe a subsequent special election or something if they have to have a redo because not enough of them got a threshold that was needed to be on the ballot. But that's all within each state and its election rules. But the thing about the president and vice president, it is nothing more than a glorified popularity contest. And here's the reason why. I've already told you it's the Electoral College. And each state still has the authority and the responsibility to determine how its electoral votes are going to be cast. Nevada, for example, I believe it was earlier this year, has just passed the law that the way they're going to cast their electoral ballots for the president and vice presidency are they're going to cast it for whoever got the biggest popular vote across the country. In other words, Nevada says, to hell with you, Nevada citizens. We don't care what you think. What the country thinks, that's where our vote's going to go. So we're always going to be voting on the winning side. Boy, that's going to make Nevada stick out, right? Nevada sticks out all right for having total disregard for their citizens. That's my opinion. Just my opinion. Okay, we're going to go into other aspects of qualifications and restrictions on what states can do to determine who's qualified, etc., on various elections. You know, there are different rules for different elections, and on various aspects of those qualifications in segment 4. We'll get a little deeper on that. Right now, I ask you not to forget about STAB, sound the alarm brigade. We are still building our public opinion army to force our politicians to the table to find a solution to keep Sharia from overtaking and totally uh, ruining our standard of living and our culture here in this country. We got to stop them. We have to stop them before it gets more and more and more difficult to stop them. Because the more difficult it gets to stop them, the more dangerous it gets to stop them. Go to www.ourstab.com. And don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.